Hey guys, it's Kayla.
And I'm Mark Allen.
And this is our channel. Here we talk about all things Disney as well as how to plan your Walt Disney World vacation.
So if that interests you, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned.
Okay, so recently we stayed at All-Star Movies Resort in actually one of the refurbished rooms. So we are just gonna share some of our thoughts on our stay there with you guys today.
So we stayed in a preferred standard view room in the Toy Story section. Now, we did stay in a refurbished room, so it looked a lot like Pop Century if you've ever stayed in one of those rooms or looked at any videos like that. They look very similar, quite honestly.
Really similar. And that too is part of why we decided to stay in that resort, was because we had heard that they had the refurbished rooms. The rooms are really nice and clean. We did do a tour of our our room that we stayed in, so if you missed that video, I will link that above. Make sure you go check that out. But I really did. I liked that it felt new. I felt like it was a better value than what we actually paid for. I
would agree with that.
Yeah. So speaking of which, so our total cost that we paid for 3 nights? Yeah, yep. For a 3-night stay at All-Star Movies was $480. Now that does include our annual pass holder discount. So that did help quite a bit for sure, but I mean, that's pretty cheap for Disney standards.
For Disney,
so that was really nice. And one other thing that I did notice was that where our room was, so since we were back on that back side, it was really quiet, which I really enjoyed. It was nice because, you know, when you're tired, you want to go to sleep and you don't want to hear all of the screaming children at the pool and
yeah. Well, the Toy Story section doesn't have a pool.
Well, that's what I was really nervous about, was from staying at that resort, was because I've always heard how there's just always a million children at that resort because it's a cheap one. It's a value resort. So that would make sense that a lot of families with like little kids and things would be there. But I was shocked by how quiet it was.
Yeah.
It was really nice. Okay, so next, the kind of theming or the aesthetic of the resort. Personally, I loved it. Like, it was totally my jam. It was the oversized, big Disney, like, in-your-face kind of theming, which is my jam. Like, with Pop Century, like, it had that big over-the-top theming, but it wasn't overtly Disney. And so it was kind of, I don't know, like, it was cool, but it wasn't, to me, like, the All-Star Movies Resort really spoke to me.
Well, and one thing that I feel like why it worked better at All-Star Movies was because we did stay in the Toy Story section. It gave me a lot of Toy Story Land vibes where you are shrunk down to like the size of a toy. I think just worked a little bit better because you were just shrunk down kind of to the size of the toy.
In that section that we stayed in.
Yeah. Now the others
too, like with that, like the theming of the pool was Fantasia, which again, like for me, it was a personal favorite because I love Sorcerer Mickey. Like, that is one of my favorite things. I have a little pin that is on my backpack that is Sorcerer Mickey, and I love Sorcerer Mickey. So the fact that it was Fantasia themed and Mickey's like there on this big statue and he's like shooting fountains and whatever, I loved that. I thought it was really cute and really fun.
Yeah.
Not that we got to swim at the pool at all because we were too busy, but I really did enjoy that a lot. And continuing on with that, I really liked the theming of the rooms. So in the, like, my favorite thing from the rooms were in the Murphy bed, there's this big picture of Huey, Dewey, and Louie. And I just really thought that was really fun. And so I really liked that they kind of, they continued that over the top theming into the rooms themselves. The food court. It was okay. It wasn't bad by any means. Like, it
Yeah.
wasn't, like, there wasn't anything that I had that was gross. Like, we didn't eat a lot there, but, I mean, it's like food court food. Like, it's not anything spectacular. Now, I will say they do have the, secret menu there at, I think it's at Roxy's. We didn't end up doing that because we didn't really have a ton of time and they were really busy, and so I didn't want to like, I don't know, it felt weird asking them. And I've heard that stuff is pretty cool and fun. One thing that I did really like about the food court was that they had a bakery case, which they didn't really have at Pop Century. They had
some.
Well, they didn't have a bakery case. They had like in the grab and go section, like they had a few things that you could get.
Yeah.
But at All Star Movies, they actually had a bakery case with like cupcakes and the cookie dough, like edible cookie dough, which we had, which was also good.
That was really good.
And like, so like they did have a lot more of that, which I appreciated that a lot.
Yeah.
On the flip side though, the thing that I really did not care for was the gift shop.
Yeah.
That gift shop is terrible. Like,
compared to Pop.
Compared to anything. Like, it was the most generic Disney stuff. There wasn't anything really unique or special. We always like to get a themed either mug or pin or something, and literally they had one pin. And it wasn't even All-Star Movies. It just was All-Star Resorts.
All-Star Resorts.
Like, that was it. And I was like...
Which, I mean, makes sense because the All-Star Resorts are so close together.
They are still all technically one, but, I mean, you would just think that, I mean, why would you not have... I don't know. Anyways, I was a little salty about that, but that was the only thing that I really just hated about that resort. Okay, so our next category in this review is the transportation, which I was very surprised. I was very surprised by this.
Yeah, I was too.
It was nothing like I thought it would be. I had always heard that, again, like, because there's a million kids that stay at this resort, there's a lot of family, there's always a bunch of people, it's always really busy, the lines are really long, the buses take forever, you have to go to like all of the resorts. I always heard all of these things that really made me like not want to stay there, and I was kind of terrified for transportation because that, like, the buses are the only option there. But honestly, like, it was not bad at all.
There was a couple, like...
There was one time. There was honestly only one time that I can recall that I was getting slightly frustrated. I don't think we waited more than maybe 3 to 5 minutes for a bus, like, to go to the parks.
Yeah.
And
most stops were pretty empty.
Yeah. And then on the way back, like, to the resort from the parks, now part of this may have been because of the times of day that we were leaving, but because usually if it's a somewhat busier time, then they will have like 3 buses. They'll have one for movies, music, and sports individually, so you're not going to them all. But even the times that we did, it was, I don't know, it was really fast.
Yeah. Well, and that brings up a great point too. Most of the time, unless it's like a really, really busy night or something like that, you are sharing buses with All-Star Sports and All-Star Music. So
this is a good and a bad thing. If you are leaving the resort to go to a park, you're the last stop. Therefore, you are going directly to the park. You don't have to go to the other resorts. If you are going from the parks to your resort and you're sharing a bus at that time, you will be the last stop. So you do have to wait for the other 2. Which I think that happened one time.
Which,
because we left in the middle of the day, which again, we weren't in a hurry, so it wasn't a big deal.
And I would also say that the buses weren't super crowded like they were for Pop Century. There was a couple times.
Oh my gosh, the buses for Pop were way worse.
Yeah.
Way worse. Like, at the end of the night, even when we had stayed in the park for an hour past closing, there were literally 300 people in line waiting to go back to the resort at the end of the night. When we would do that for Pop, there was literally 0 people. Nobody.
You mean All-Star?
Yes, All-Star Movies.
Not Pop.
Right, yes, sorry. But there was nobody in line. And
Yeah.
so I think that is for a couple reasons. Like I mentioned, during those busier times, they do have the individualized resort buses. But I also think that they do more buses for that resort because it's a bigger resort. And so I think the buses, I noticed that bus times were a lot more frequent than they were for Pop Century, or even when we stayed for Animal Kingdom, because that one's also bus only. That was my one thing I was the most nervous about, and it wasn't bad at all.
Yeah.
Like, it was quite pleasant. So, good job, All-Star Movies. Okay, so our overall opinion on All-Star Movies Resort.
I loved it.
I did too. Personally, like, if I had to choose between that and Pop, there are things about Pop that I do like more, like the fact that now there's the Skyliner.
Yeah.
And
The gift shop.
The gift shop, and I like the smell. But
Yeah,
overall, like, if I had to pick one of those resorts to stay at again, I would probably choose All-Star Movies.
I agree, honestly.
I just really liked it.
There's pros and cons.
Yeah, which, I mean, I feel like that's the way it is with any resort.
Yeah.
But I think it was just because I was so pleasantly surprised. My expectations were like here. And what actually happened was like here. So that was really quite pleasant.
Yeah. So who would you say the All-Star Movies is for?
I would say it's for, of course, somebody who is wanting to save money.
Yeah.
It was pretty cheap. Like, yeah. I mean,
$400
less than $500 for 3 nights. I mean, granted, for normal monies, that's expensive.
Yeah.
But for Disney, that's very cheap. Because you're going to pay that for one night at some of those other deluxe ones, even with a discount.
Yeah.
So, that was, I would definitely say budget friendly for sure. The other person that I would recommend this for is if you are really like, you want slam bam Disney in your face 24/7, because you're gonna get it at that resort, and I love that.
Yeah. The Toy Story section was really so fun. Awesome.
We requested that, and I was really hoping we would get it, and so I was super excited when they told us that we did get to be in that section. I honestly wouldn't hate staying at any of the other ones though, because I think they have like, don't they have like the Dalmatians?
Yeah.
And Herbie and Fantasia.
Yep.
I don't remember what else, but I really like all of that. Like, that's super fun to me.
The other person that I would recommend All-Star Movies for is someone that maybe you're going for your first time and you just want to be in the parks from rope drop to park close. If you are that type of person, which we definitely are, if you're not going to be in your room, don't waste that money on your hotel. No. It's not worth it.
So yeah, overall, definitely a big thumbs up for me. Like, I loved it. It was a great experience. Have you guys stayed at All-Star Movies before? Did you love it or did you hate it? Let us know down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give us a big thumbs up. And if you enjoyed this review or you want to see other videos like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Other than that, that's all we got for you guys today. We'll see you next time.
Bye.